My name is Lana, and for as long as I could remember, I lived a life that seemed ordinary. Or at least I thought it was. My family wasn't rich, not even close. We struggled to make ends meet. My father worked 2 jobs, my mother kept our tiny apartment in order, and I did my best to focus on school, always dreaming of a better life. The idea of wealth was something abstract to me. I would hear about millionaires and billionaires on the news, but it was as if they existed in a world far removed from my own. I never expected that my life would be turned upside down by an inheritance, especially one that none of us had ever known about. It all started the day I got the phone call. My uncle, the one who had always been distant and mysterious, had passed away unexpectedly. He wasn't close to us, not really. He was a man of few words, always traveling for his business, and whenever we spoke, it was usually about trivial things. But when the lawyer called to inform me that I was named in his will, I was confused. Surely he had other family members. Why would he leave anything to me? I stood before the grand building, clutching the letter in my hand. The lawyer had told me to come to the office. There were no specifics, no clear instructions, just an invitation to meet. I had no idea what to expect, but I never imagined what would happen next. Inside the office, I was handed a letter with my uncle's signature, and there, in black and white, was the shocking truth. My uncle, whom I had barely spoken to in years, had left me everything. His fortune, his assets, his company, everything. At first, I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. This couldn't be real. How could someone like me, from a family like mine, inherit so much? There had to be a mistake, but as I stood there, the lawyer explained that the inheritance wasn't just about the wealth, it came with responsibilities. Huge, impossible responsibilities. As I sat there, overwhelmed by the enormity of it all, the lawyer told me that my uncle had built an empire, one that spanned continents, a corporation that was worth billions. I was now its heir. But with this legacy came a warning. My uncle's will was clear. I had to fight to preserve it. And from the moment the lawyer handed me that letter, I realized that the battle had already begun. For weeks I tried to wrap my head around it all. I wasn't prepared for any of this. I had no experience in running a business, let alone managing a global empire. But I had no choice. I had to learn, and fast. I needed to understand everything about my uncle's company, his dealings, the people he worked with, and why he had trusted me with such an enormous responsibility. But there was one person who didn't believe in me. Elena, my uncle's second-in-command, was the first to confront me. She had been with the company for years, climbing the ranks, and when she found out that I had inherited the empire, she was furious. She made it clear that she believed I was unqualified to take over. I was just a girl who had never done anything more than work a basic office job. How could I possibly understand the intricacies of business? At first, I thought she might be right. What did I know? How could I possibly compete with someone like Elena, who had worked so hard to get where she was? But then I realized something important. I wasn't alone. The company may have been my inheritance, but I wasn't without resources. My uncle had left me detailed instructions, not just about running the business, but about the people I could trust. And from what I could tell, Eleanor wasn't one of them. She tried to manipulate me at every turn. Her methods were subtle at first, whispers behind my back, the slow undermining of my decisions. She worked tirelessly to turn my allies into enemies, making it clear that I wasn't welcome in a world that she had claimed as her own. But the more she pushed, the more I resisted. I had something she didn't, my uncle's legacy, and the truth he had left for me. It wasn't long before I found the first clue in the complex puzzle of my uncle's life. Hidden in his private files were letters, and one in particular caught my attention. It was a message to me, written just before his death. In it, my uncle warned me that there were people within the company who would stop at nothing to take everything from me. One line stood out: trust no one, not even family. The deeper I dug into my uncle's affairs, the more I discovered. His company wasn't just a business, it was a battleground, filled with power plays, hidden deals, and secrets that could destroy everything. One evening, as I pored over documents, I uncovered something chilling. Elena had been in contact with my uncle's assistant in the weeks leading up to his death. Their meetings had been about more than business. They had been about securing her future. She had known about the will before I did. She had been planning her move for years. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My uncle had trusted her, but now I knew she had betrayed him. She had been plotting to take control of the company for herself, using every trick in the book to manipulate him into giving her what she wanted. And now, she was trying to do the same to me. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I confronted Eleanor in the boardroom, determined to put an end to her games. She tried to play it cool, but I could see the fear in her eyes. She had underestimated me. She thought I was just a naive girl, but I was more than that. I was my uncle's heir, and I wasn't going to back down. I had the truth on my side, and that was all I needed. The showdown between Elena and me became the talk of the office. Every decision I made was scrutinized, and every move was watched. But with each passing day, I became more confident in my ability to lead. I learned to navigate the intricacies of the company, using my uncle's legacy as a foundation, but adding my own vision to it. Slowly but surely, I started to rebuild what had been damaged, and I started to take control. But as I gained ground, Eleanor's desperation grew. She made increasingly bold moves, trying to sabotage my efforts at every turn. Her manipulation became more blatant, her allies more vocal in their opposition to my decisions. And then, in the most unexpected way, Eleanor played her final card. She accused me of making poor financial decisions, of running the company into the ground. She painted me as a naive, incapable heir who couldn't manage what had been entrusted to her. It was all lies, of course, but the board was swayed. Elena had planted seeds of doubt, and now those seeds were beginning to take root. But I wouldn't give up. I couldn't. My uncle had placed his trust in me, and I would honor that trust, no matter the cost. I hired a private investigator to uncover more about Elena's actions. What I learned was worse than I had imagined. Elena had been pulling strings behind the scenes for years, manipulating everyone to ensure that she would eventually take over. She had even convinced my uncle's assistant to help her alter the documents. But it was all falling apart now. The truth was out, and Elena could no longer hide behind her lies. In the final confrontation, I walked into the boardroom, armed with the evidence. Elena tried to deny everything, but I had proof. I had the documents, the emails, the records of her secret meetings, and I wasn't backing down. "You thought you could take everything from me," I said, my voice steady. "But you were wrong. This company, this legacy, is mine, and I'll fight for it no matter what." Elena's face drained of color as she realized she had lost. The board sided with me. The truth had won. The battle was over, but the war for control of my uncle's empire had changed me. I wasn't the same person who had walked into that office, unsure and terrified. I had become someone stronger, someone who understood the weight of the legacy I had inherited. In the end, my uncle's empire became my own. I didn't just inherit his wealth. I inherited the lessons he had left for me, and with those lessons, I would rebuild his legacy into something even greater. Not just a business, but a force that would stand the test of time. And so the battle for my uncle's empire came to an end. But my journey, had only just begun.